At 2:17 on a rainy Thursday afternoon in Atlanta, a 10-year-old boy stood behind the glass door of King's Table Diner, staring at a half-eaten plate of chicken and waffles someone had left near the trash. He was not begging. He was not crying. He was simply watching the food like a person watching a train leave without them. Rain slid down the sides of his face and gathered under his chin. His gray hoodie was soaked through. One of his sneakers had split open at the side, showing a wet white sock underneath. In his left hand, he held a small paper napkin folded into a triangle, so tight his knuckles looked pale. Inside the diner, people were warm. They had coffee. They had butter melting on hot biscuits. They had music playing low from the old speakers above the counter. But outside, the boy stood alone under the striped red awning, with rain dripping from his eyelashes and hunger sitting quietly in his eyes. And across the street, inside a black SUV with tinted windows, someone was watching him. No one in the restaurant knew that. Not the customers, not the manager, not the cook, and not Tamara Brooks, the waitress whose life was already hanging by a thread. Tamara had $7.43 in her purse. Her rent was short by $680. Her mother's medicine refill was due in 2 days. And that morning, her manager had told her in front of everyone, "One more mistake, Tamara, and you can clean out your locker." So when Tamara saw the boy lift the trash lid with both hands, she should have looked away. She should have told herself she had enough problems. She should have stayed behind the counter, poured coffee, smiled at people who did not see her, and protected the only job keeping her lights on. But the boy did not reach into the trash. He stopped. He stared at the leftovers. Then he whispered something to himself that Tamara could not hear through the glass. A second later, he stepped back like even hunger had made him ashamed. Tamara put down the coffee pot, and that small sound, the pot touching the counter, was the first domino. Before we continue, if you love emotional stories about kindness, hidden truth, and the kind of twist that reminds people not to judge too quickly, make sure you subscribe and stay with this story until the end, because the boy at that door was not who anyone thought he was. Tamara walked toward the entrance. Behind her, the lunch rush was loud and busy. Forks scraped plates, orders printed from the kitchen machine. A baby laughed from booth 6. Someone complained that their fries were cold. But Tamara only heard the rain. She opened the front door. Cold air rushed in. The boy flinched. "I wasn't taking it," he said quickly. His voice was small but not weak. It sounded like a child who had already explained himself too many times to adults who did not care. Tamara stepped outside under the awning. "I didn't say you were." The boy's eyes moved from her face to her name tag. Tamara, then to her apron, then to the warm restaurant behind her. "I can leave," he said. "You hungry?" He did not answer. That was answer enough. "What's your name?" The boy swallowed. "Zion." "Zion what?" He looked away. "Just Zion." Tamara noticed the napkin in his hand. It was folded carefully into a triangle, the way old folks sometimes folded dollar bills before tucking them into church envelopes. A purple thread was tied around one corner. "You waiting for someone, Zion?" His face changed, just a little. But Tamara saw it. She had worked in restaurants long enough to know how people lied when they were trying not to panic. "My dad," Zion said. "Where is he?" "He's coming." "When?" Zion looked across the street. Tamara followed his eyes. A black SUV was parked near the curb, engine running, wipers moving slow. She could not see through the windows. "Is that your dad?" Zion shook his head too fast. "No." Tamara felt something tighten inside her. A child could be hungry for many reasons, but a child who kept watching a strange car had a different kind of fear. Before she could ask another question, the door opened behind her. Denise Carter, the general manager, stood there in a cream blazer and gold earrings, her mouth already tight with irritation. "Tamara," she said, low enough that customers would not hear but sharp enough to cut. "What are you doing?" He's hungry. Denise looked at Zion like he was rainwater someone had tracked onto her clean floor. This is a restaurant. Yes, Tamara said. That's why I noticed. Denise's eyes narrowed. Do not get smart with me. Zion stepped backward. I can go. Tamara turned to him. No, come inside. Let me get you something warm. His eyes widened. I don't have money. That's all right. Denise grabbed Tamara's wrist. No, it is not all right. Tamara looked down at Denise's hand, then slowly looked back up. She did not pull away. She did not raise her voice. She simply said, He's a child standing in the rain. Denise leaned closer. And you are an employee standing one mistake away from unemployment. The words landed exactly where Denise wanted them to land. Tamara thought of the yellow eviction notice folded in her purse. She thought of her mother sleeping in a recliner because lying flat made her chest tight. She thought of the pharmacy receipt that said $92.16. She thought of the $7.43 she had left. Then she looked at Zion's split sneaker. The boy was trying to curl his toes away from the cold. Tamara gently removed Denise's fingers from her wrist. I'll pay for it. Denise laughed once, not loudly, just enough to humiliate her. With what? Two customers near the door turned their heads. Tamara felt heat rise in her face, but she held her chin still. With my tips. You barely have tips. Then with my lunch. Denise stared at her. The rain kept falling behind them. The black SUV across the street stayed in place. Finally, Denise stepped aside. One meal, she said. Back booth, away from the windows. And if he causes a problem, it is yours. Tamara nodded. Zion did not move. She softened her voice. Come on, baby. You're safe for a minute. He looked at her like he wanted to believe that. Then he stepped inside. The whole restaurant noticed. People always notice hunger when it walks into a warm room. They just pretend they don't. Tamara led Zion to a small booth near the kitchen, where the smell of fried chicken, coffee, and hot syrup wrapped around him. He sat down carefully, as if he was afraid the booth might reject him too. His hands stayed around the folded napkin. What would you like? Tamara asked. What's the cheapest? Tamara's chest hurt. The cheapest thing is water, she said. Zion lowered his eyes. But that's not what I asked you. I asked what you would like. He looked at the menu, then at the kitchen window. What is that smell? Chicken and rice soup. Is it spicy? A little. My mom used to make soup when it rained. Tamara paused. Where is your mom? The boy's mouth pressed together. For a moment, he looked 10. Then he looked much older. She's with God. Tamara inhaled quietly. I'm sorry. Zion looked down at the napkin triangle in his hand. She used to say rain means heaven is washing the windows. Tamara had no words. Some sentences are too tender to answer, so she went to the kitchen and placed the order herself. Bowl of chicken and rice soup, she told Marcus Bell, the head cook. Grilled cheese, small fries, chocolate milk. Marcus looked up from the grill. For who? Tamara nodded toward the back booth. Marcus glanced out and saw Zion. His face changed. Marcus was a big man with a calm voice and sad eyes. He had 3 children and a quiet way of noticing things others missed. Denise approved that? Denise approved one meal. She didn't approve a soul. Marcus grunted. I'll make it full. Marcus, I said I'll make it full. He turned back to the stove. Tamara smiled for half a second. Then Denise's voice came from behind her. You better ring it up. Tamara turned. I will. Full price. I said I will. Denise's eyes dropped to Tamara's apron pocket where tips usually went. Just remember, pity doesn't pay rent. Tamara said nothing. That was the thing about people like Denise. They thought silence meant defeat. Sometimes silence meant a person was holding on to the last piece of dignity they had left. Tamara rang up the food, $18.92. She stared at the number. She had $7.43. She could use her staff meal credit, but that was against policy. She could ask Marcus to make something off-record, but that could get him in trouble too. She could put the rest on her card and pray it did not decline. Her fingers hovered over the payment screen. Then she opened her purse and pulled out a small folded $2 bill. It was old, soft at the edges, folded into a triangle. A purple thread was tied around one corner. For 11 months, Tamara had kept that bill in her purse, not because it was worth money, because of who had given it to her. Every Tuesday morning before the lunch rush, an old black woman named Miss Lottie used to come into King's table and sit at the last counter stool. She always wore a lavender scarf, even in summer, and carried a small notebook with a cracked leather cover. She ordered hot tea, dry toast, and sometimes soup if her hands were hurting. She never talked much at first, but over time she learned Tamara's name. She learned Tamara's mother was sick. She learned Tamara had once wanted to go to nursing school. And every time she left, she placed a folded $2 bill under her saucer, tied with purple thread. Tamara tried to give it back the first time. Miss Lottie only smiled and said, "Baby, don't insult a blessing just because it's small." Then one Tuesday, Miss Lottie did not come. The next Tuesday, she did not come either. Tamara never knew what happened. She kept the last $2 triangle in her purse like a tiny piece of proof that someone had once seen her. Now she unfolded it slowly. The register waited. The restaurant noise faded. Tamara did not want to spend it. But then Zion coughed from the booth and rubbed his stomach. Tamara placed the $2 bill on the counter with the rest of her cash. Then she paid the balance with her debit card. The machine took too long. Processing. Processing. Tamara held her breath. Approved. She closed her eyes for 1 second. Not from relief, from grief. Sometimes being kind means losing something no one else knows mattered. When she brought Zion the food, he stared at the tray like it was a miracle. Steam curled from the soup. The grilled cheese was cut into triangles. Marcus had added extra fries and a biscuit wrapped in foil. Zion did not touch anything. "You okay?" Tamara asked. He nodded, but his lip trembled. "Can I take some to my dad?" Tamara sat across from him. "Is your dad hungry too?" Zion looked toward the window again. "I don't know." "Zion." He gripped the spoon. "My Aunt Rachel said he didn't want me anymore." Tamara went still. The sentence was quiet, too quiet, like he had repeated it inside his head until it started sounding true. "She said he was too busy with his restaurants. She said if I waited outside long enough, somebody would take me somewhere." Tamara felt anger rise, but she kept it gentle. "Where is Aunt Rachel now?" Zion shook his head. "She left me near the bus station. A man was with her. He said he worked for my dad. But I know everyone who works close to my dad. I didn't know him." Tamara's eyes moved toward the black SUV. "Was he in that car?" Zion did not answer. His silence answered. Tamara stood slowly. "Eat," she said. "I'll be right here." He reached for her apron. "Don't tell them." "Tell who?" "The man." "What man?" Zion looked across the street, and this time Tamara saw the driver's side door of the SUV open. A man stepped out. Tall, dark coat, black umbrella. He did not run through the rain. He walked slowly, like a person who believed the world would wait for him. Zion slid down in the booth until only his eyes showed. Tamara's blood turned cold. The man crossed Peachtree Street without looking both ways. A horn blared. He did not flinch. He kept coming toward King's table. Tamara moved to the end of Zion's booth. "Listen to me," she whispered. "When I say now, go through that kitchen door. Ask Marcus to take you to the pantry. Zion shook his head. He said if I made trouble, my dad would lose everything. What does that mean? I don't know. The bell above the front door rang. The man entered with rain on his shoulders and a smile that did not reach his eyes. Denise instantly straightened. Good shoes, expensive coat, clean watch. Those were the things Denise respected. "Welcome to King's table," she said brightly. "Table for one?" The man ignored her. His eyes moved around the room, slow, searching. Then they landed near the back booth. Tamara stepped in front of Zion. "Can I help you, sir?" The man looked at her name tag. Tamara. The way he said it made her feel like he had practiced it. "I'm looking for a boy." "What boy?" "A boy who doesn't belong here." Tamara's voice stayed even. "A lot of people belong in a restaurant." His smile thinned. "Don't make this difficult." Denise hurried over. "Sir, is there a concern?" The man pulled out his phone and showed a photo. Zion, smiling, wearing a blue blazer, standing beside a man whose face had been cropped out. "This is my nephew," the man said. "He ran away." From the booth, Zion's breath caught. Tamara heard it. The man heard it too. Denise looked at Tamara. "Is this the child you brought in?" Tamara did not look back. "No." Denise blinked. The man's eyes sharpened. "No?" "No," Tamara said. "I haven't seen that child." The restaurant went quiet in a dangerous way. A customer at table 3 lowered his coffee cup. A woman near the register stopped stirring her tea. The man in the dark coat stepped closer. "Be careful." Tamara could feel Zion trembling behind her. She thought of her rent. She thought of her mother's medicine. She thought of Denise's warning. Then she thought of Miss Lottie's voice. "Don't insult a blessing just because it's small." Tamara lifted her chin. "I am careful." The man looked past her. "Zion," he said softly, "your father sent me." The boy whispered, barely audible, "No, he didn't." But the restaurant heard it. The man's face changed. For 1 second, the expensive coat, the polished shoes, and the fake calm disappeared. What remained was anger. Denise turned on Tamara. "You lied to a guest?" "He is not his guest," Tamara said. "You don't know that. And you don't know that he is." Denise's face hardened with embarrassment. To her, the problem was no longer Zion. The problem was that Tamara had challenged her in public. "Tamara," she said loudly, "step away from the booth." "No." A small sound moved through the room. Not a gasp, not exactly. More like people realizing they were about to witness someone lose everything. Denise's cheeks flushed. "You are suspended." Tamara did not move. "Go get your things." "No." Denise's voice rose. "You are done here." Zion crawled out from the booth, clutching the folded napkin. "Please don't fire her," he said. "She bought me food." Denise looked down at him. "And you need to go home with your uncle." "He's not my uncle." The man smiled again. "Zion is upset. His mother passed recently. He gets confused." At that, Zion's whole face broke. Not loud, not dramatic. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Tears slipped down his cheeks in silence. Tamara had seen many children cry. This was different. This was a child trying not to cry because someone had used his dead mother like a weapon. Tamara stepped closer to him. The man reached out. Marcus came through the kitchen door before anyone saw him move. He was still wearing his apron. He stood between the man and the boy. "Don't touch him." The man looked Marcus up and down. "Kitchen staff should stay in the kitchen." Marcus did not blink. "And men who scare children should stay outside." Denise snapped, "Marcus, back to work." "No, ma'am." For the first time that day, Denise looked unsure. The man's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. His jaw tightened. Then he looked toward the security camera near the ceiling. Tamara followed his eyes. The little red light was blinking. Denise saw him look, and something passed between them, fast, small, but Tamara caught it. A look, recognition. Her stomach dropped. Denise knew him. Maybe not fully, maybe not honestly, but she knew more than she was saying. Zion suddenly tugged Tamara's sleeve. "I have a card," he whispered. "What card?" "My dad said if I got lost, find a king's table and show it to someone kind." Tamara stared at him. "What do you mean, a king's table?" Zion reached into his wet hoodie and pulled out a small black card wrapped in plastic. Before Tamara could take it, the man lunged. Marcus grabbed his arm. The restaurant erupted. A chair scraped. Someone shouted. Denise yelled for everyone to calm down. The card slipped from Zion's wet fingers and skidded across the floor. It stopped beside Tamara's shoe. She picked it up. On the front was a gold crown logo. Under it were the words, "King Hospitality Group Family Emergency Access." Tamara's breath caught. King Hospitality Group owned King's Table Diner. Not just this one, all of them. More than 90 restaurants across the South. The founder and CEO was Malcolm King, a man employees rarely saw except in training videos. A billionaire, a widower, a private man who never brought his son into the public eye. Tamara looked at Zion. The boy's eyes filled with fear. "My dad owns this place," he whispered. The room fell silent. Then the phone behind the counter rang. Denise stared at it like it had become a snake. No one moved. It rang again. Tamara walked to the counter and answered. "King's Table, Peachtree Branch." A man's voice came through, deep and shaking. "Who is this?" "Tamara Brooks." "Is my son there?" Tamara looked at Zion, then at the man in the dark coat. "Yes." A breath broke on the other end. "Do not let anyone take him." "I won't." "My name is Malcolm King. Police are 2 minutes away. I am 1 minute behind them." Tamara closed her eyes. "Sir?" "Yes?" "There's a man here claiming to be family." Silence. Then Malcolm King's voice turned cold. "His name is Darnell Price. He is not family. Keep my son away from him." The line clicked. Tamara slowly lowered the phone. Darnell was already moving toward the door. Marcus blocked him again. "Going somewhere?" Darnell's face hardened. "You don't want this trouble." Marcus smiled without humor. "I got 3 kids and a bad knee. Trouble needs to take a number." Outside, sirens cut through the rain. Zion covered his ears. Tamara knelt beside him. "You're okay." He shook his head. "My dad is going to be mad." "No, baby." "He told me not to leave the office." "Did you leave because you were scared?" Zion nodded. "Then he's not going to be mad." The front door opened again. This time 2 police officers entered first. Behind them came a tall black man in a dark suit with no umbrella, rain soaking his shoulders and hair. He did not look like a billionaire in that moment. He looked like a father whose heart had been running faster than his body. "Zion." The boy turned. For half a second he froze, then he ran. Malcolm King dropped to his knees in the middle of his own restaurant, arms open. Zion crashed into him. The boy cried then, not softly, not carefully. He cried like a child who had been holding terror in his small chest for hours. Malcolm held him so tight his hands shook. "I got you," he whispered. "I got you. I got you." Every person in the restaurant watched. Some looked away, ashamed of their earlier judgment. Tamara stood near the counter, still holding the emergency card. Her legs felt weak. She had not just fed a hungry boy. She had stood between him and a man his father feared. Darnell tried to speak to the officers. "This is a misunderstanding." Malcolm rose slowly, keeping Zion behind him. "Where is Rachel?" Darnell said nothing. "Where is my sister-in-law?" Still nothing. One officer stepped toward him. "Sir, we need you to come with us." Darnell looked at Denise, and that one look was enough. Malcolm saw it. Tamara saw it. Marcus saw it. Denise looked down. Malcolm's voice was quiet. "Denise." She swallowed. "Yes, Mr. King?" "Why did he look at you like that?" "I don't know." "Don't lie in front of my son." The restaurant went silent again. Denise's eyes filled with tears, but they were not tears of sadness. They were tears of someone trapped. "He said he was trying to protect the family," she whispered. Malcolm took one step toward her. "Who said?" "Darnell." "When?" She wiped her cheek with shaking fingers. "He came last week. He said your son might show up. He said there were family issues. He said if we saw him, we should call him first because the press couldn't find out." Tamara felt sick. "And you believed him?" Malcolm asked. Denise shook her head. "I didn't know what to believe. He had photos. He knew names. He knew your assistant. He knew about your wife." Malcolm's face tightened. Darnell looked away. Denise continued, voice breaking. "He said if I helped quietly, corporate would remember me. I've been trying to move up for years. I thought—" She stopped, because there was no decent ending to that sentence. Malcolm looked at her for a long time. "You thought my child was a chance." Denise covered her mouth. "I didn't know he was in danger." Tamara spoke softly. "But you knew he was hungry." Denise turned to her. The words hit harder than any accusation, because they were true. She knew he was hungry. She knew he was wet. She knew he was scared. But she had seen him as an inconvenience until she learned he was rich. That was the wound in the room. Not only Darnell's crime, the smaller crime, the everyday one. The crime of looking at a child and deciding his worth depended on who owned him. Malcolm turned to the officers. "I want every security file from this branch preserved, every message, every call, every video." "Yes, sir." Then he looked at Tamara. For the first time, his eyes fully settled on her. "You fed him?" Tamara nodded. "I paid for his meal." "You didn't know who he was?" "No." "You thought he was homeless?" Tamara looked at Zion, who was still holding his father's jacket. "I thought he was hungry." The answer moved through the room like a prayer. Malcolm lowered his head. A long silence followed. Then Zion tugged his father's sleeve. "She used her special money." Tamara's stomach tightened. "What special money?" Malcolm asked. Zion pointed at the counter. "The folded one, like mine." Malcolm looked confused. Tamara opened her hand. In the rush, she had forgotten that the folded $2 bill was gone. She had spent it. "I had a $2 bill someone gave me," Tamara said quietly. "It was nothing." But Malcolm's face changed. "What kind of $2 bill?" Tamara hesitated. "Folded into a triangle, purple thread on the corner." Malcolm stopped breathing. The room seemed to fade around him. "What did you say?" Tamara blinked. "It was just an old tip." "Who gave it to you?" "An elderly lady, Miss Lottie. She came every Tuesday. Lavender scarf, tea and dry toast, sometimes soup." Malcolm's hand went to the back of the booth like he needed it to stand. Zion looked up. "Daddy?" Malcolm's voice was barely there. "My mother's name was Lottie King." Tamara stared at him. "No." "She died 8 months ago." Tamara's eyes burned. "No, I didn't know. She just stopped coming." "She used to fold $2 bills into triangles," Malcolm said. "My grandmother taught her. Purple thread because lavender was her favorite color." He reached into his wallet and pulled out an old photo. His fingers trembled as he showed it to Tamara. Miss Lottie smiled from the picture, wearing the same lavender scarf. Tamara covered her mouth. The diner blurred. For 11 months, she had carried that little folded bill in her purse. not knowing it came from the mother of the man who owned the restaurant chain, not knowing the old woman she had helped was connected to the boy she had just protected. Malcolm swallowed hard. "She told me about you." Tamara looked up. "What?" "She told me there was a waitress at the Peachtree branch who warmed her teacup before pouring tea because her hands hurt. She said you cut her toast into small pieces but never made her feel old. She said one time she forgot her purse and you paid for her soup." Tamara remembered that day. Miss Lottie had searched her bag with embarrassment rising in her face. Tamara had quietly said, "You can get me next Tuesday." Miss Lottie had smiled. Then she had left 2 folded $2 bills the next week. Tamara whispered, "She was your mother?" Malcolm nodded. "My mother built the first King's table with my father before I expanded it. The whole company started because she believed hungry people should be fed before they were judged." His eyes filled. "And I turned it into something she wouldn't recognize." No one spoke. Even Denise stopped crying, because grief had entered the room now. Not dramatic grief, the quiet kind. The kind that sits down at the table and shows everyone what they forgot. Malcolm looked at Zion. "My mother kept asking me to visit this branch with her. I was always too busy." He looked at Tamara. "She wanted me to meet you." Tamara's tears fell silently. "She never said who she was." "She wouldn't." Malcolm smiled sadly. "She hated being treated differently." Zion held up his napkin triangle. "Grandma taught me too." Malcolm looked at the paper in his son's hand. It was not just a napkin. It was wrapped around something. Zion opened it carefully. Inside was a small folded note, damp at the edges. He handed it to his father. Malcolm read it. His face broke. Tamara did not ask what it said, but Zion whispered, "Mom wrote it before she went to the hospital." Malcolm closed his eyes. Zion added, "It says, 'If I ever feel lost, find the warm table.'" The words landed like thunder. Find the warm table. That was why he had come, not because of the logo, not because of the chain, because his mother's last note had told him that somewhere in the world there was a place where he could be safe. And for a terrible hour, that place had almost failed him, except for one waitress. Malcolm folded the note back with shaking hands. Then he looked at Tamara with a grief so honest it made her chest ache. "My wife believed this company still had my mother's heart," he said. "Today my son tested that belief." He turned his eyes toward Denise and almost lost. Denise whispered, "I'm sorry." Malcolm did not yell. His voice stayed quiet. "That apology belongs to my son first. Then to every hungry person you looked past because their shoes weren't clean enough." Denise cried harder, but Malcolm did not soften, not yet. "Officers," he said, "please take statements." The restaurant remained closed for the rest of the day. Customers were escorted out after their meals were paid. Some apologized to Tamara, most did not. The woman who had pulled her purse closer paused at the door, looked at Zion, and then looked away. Shame is not always brave enough to speak. The man who had muttered that people like that should not be allowed inside left $20 on the table and walked out with his head down. Tamara did not touch the money. Marcus cleaned the grill in silence. Zion sat wrapped in a dry kitchen towel, eating the rest of his soup while his father spoke with police. Every few minutes, Malcolm looked back at him. Every few minutes, Zion looked back too. They were checking if the other was still there. That is what fear does. It turns love into counting. After the police took Darnell away and escorted Denise to the back office for questioning, Malcolm approached Tamara. He looked tired now, not powerful, just human. "May I sit?" Tamara nodded. They sat in the booth where Zion had hidden. For a while, neither spoke. Rain tapped the window beside them. Finally, Malcolm said, "My mother used to sit here?" "Counter stool," Tamara said. "Last one." He looked toward it. I didn't know. She liked watching the street. She was lonely, Malcolm said. Tamara did not answer. Some truths do not need agreement. Malcolm looked down at his hands. I built 93 restaurants. I missed most of my mother's last year. Tamara's eyes softened. She never spoke badly of you. He laughed once, painfully. That sounds like her. She said her son was busy carrying too many plates. Malcolm looked up. She said that? Yes. A tear slipped down his cheek, but he did not wipe it. Silent crying, the kind a person does when pride is too tired to stand guard. She always spoke in restaurant words, he said. She told me grief is like soup left on low heat. Malcolm smiled through tears. If you ignore it, it still burns. Tamara nodded. She said that too. They sat with Miss Lottie's memory between them. Then Malcolm asked, "Why did you keep the bill?" Tamara breathed in slowly. Because some days that was the only proof I had that I wasn't invisible. Malcolm looked at her. Tamara immediately regretted saying it. It felt too honest, too exposed. But Malcolm did not pity her. He only listened. She continued. My mother got sick 2 years ago. I left nursing school to take care of her. I work doubles. I sleep 4 hours. I smile at people who call me sweetheart and don't look me in the eyes. Some days I feel like I'm disappearing behind this apron. Her voice trembled, but she kept it steady. Miss Lottie saw me. Malcolm nodded slowly. She had a gift for that. Tamara looked toward Zion. And today, Zion looked like he needed one person to see him. He did. I didn't do anything heroic. Malcolm leaned back. No, you did something better. What? You did something decent when decency cost you. Tamara looked away. Those words were too heavy, too kind. A few feet away, Zion had fallen asleep sitting up, his head against Marcus's folded jacket. His small hand still held the damp napkin triangle. Malcolm watched him. I almost lost him today. You didn't, but I could have. His voice broke. And part of that is because I trusted systems more than people. Tamara understood that. Systems could be useful, but systems without love became walls. Malcolm reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. I want to speak to you tomorrow, not here, at corporate. Tamara stiffened. Am I being fired officially? No. Because Denise already did that part. A faint smile crossed his face, then vanished. I want to ask for your help. Tamara frowned. My help? Yes. With what? Remembering what this company is supposed to be. Tamara looked at him carefully. Mr. King, I'm a waitress. My mother was a waitress before she was an owner. That's different. Not to her. Tamara did not know what to say. Malcolm placed the card on the table. No decision tonight. Go home. Rest. Take care of your mother. Tamara's heart jumped. How do you know about my mother? His face softened. My mother wrote things down. He pulled out a small leather notebook, cracked cover, worn edges. Tamara recognized it immediately. Miss Lottie's notebook. Malcolm opened it carefully and turned to a page marked with purple thread. There, in Miss Lottie's neat handwriting, was written, Tamara Brooks, Peachtree Branch, warms the cup before tea, mother ill, former nursing student, proud girl, tired eyes, kind hands. Do not let this company forget girls like her. Tamara covered her mouth. The tears came before she could stop them. She did not sob. She did not make sound. She just cried silently, sitting in a booth where she had nearly lost her job, reading proof that an old woman had carried her name carefully. Malcolm looked away to give her dignity. That small act made her cry more, because he understood. The next morning, Tamara did not go to corporate. Not at first. She woke at 5:12 a.m. to the sound of her mother coughing in the next room. Their apartment was small, on the third floor of a brick building near Cascade Road. The kitchen light flickered if the microwave ran too long. A plastic bucket sat under the bathroom sink because the pipe leaked when it rained. Her mother, Renee Brooks, sat in the recliner with a blanket over her knees. "You're up early," Renee said. "So are you." "I was praying." "For what?" "For you not to be stubborn when God opens a door." Tamara gave her a look. Renee smiled. "I raised you. I know your face." Tamara made oatmeal with cinnamon and split the last banana between them. She did not tell her mother about the job offer that might be coming. She did not want to hope out loud. Hope was expensive. If it broke, it left a bigger mess than fear. At 8:40, Tamara rode the bus downtown. She wore her best black pants, a white blouse, and the same flats she had polished with a paper towel. The left shoe pinched her heel, but she stood straight. King Hospitality Group's corporate office was in a tall glass building near Midtown. The lobby smelled like lemon polish and money. Everyone moved like their shoes had never known rainwater. At the security desk, the guard looked at Tamara's worn purse. "Delivery entrance is around back." Tamara's face warmed. "I'm here to see Mr. King." The guard glanced at her again, this time slower. "Name?" "Tamara Brooks." He looked at his screen. His expression changed. "Oh, Ms. Brooks, I apologize." She did not smile. "It's all right." But it was not all right. That was the point. People apologized after discovering she mattered to someone powerful, not before. An assistant met her at the elevator and led her to the 31st floor. Through the glass walls, Tamara saw conference rooms, quiet phones, framed magazine covers, and employees speaking in careful voices. At the end of the hall, inside a large conference room, Malcolm King stood with 12 executives. All of them turned when Tamara entered. She almost stopped walking. She knew that look. The same look from the restaurant. A room deciding what she was worth before she opened her mouth. Malcolm came forward. "Tamara, thank you for coming." She nodded. Then she saw the presentation screen. Emergency Guest Response Policy Review. Under it was a photo from the security camera. Zion standing wet near the front door. Tamara's stomach tightened. "Why is his picture up there?" Malcolm turned. Then his face hardened. "Who put that image in the deck?" A woman in a navy suit cleared her throat. "Our legal team thought it would help contextualize." "Take it down." The room froze. "Mr. King, the board—" "Take my son's scared face off that screen." The woman clicked quickly. The image disappeared. Tamara felt herself breathe again. Malcolm looked at everyone. "This is exactly why Ms. Brooks is here." An older executive leaned back. "With respect, Malcolm, one employee's emotional reaction does not qualify her to advise corporate policy." Tamara felt the room tighten around her. There it was. Public humiliation in a prettier room. No raised voices, no dirty looks. Just polished disrespect. Malcolm opened his mouth, but Tamara spoke first. "She is right." Everyone looked at her. Tamara placed her purse on the chair beside her. "I am not qualified to advise corporate policy the way you understand it." The older executive's mouth twitched. Tamara continued. "But I am qualified to tell you what your policy looks like at 2:17 in the afternoon when a hungry child is standing outside your door and your manager is more worried about the floor than his stomach." No one moved. She did not shout. She did not beg. She did not apologize. She simply stood where she had every right to stand. "I am qualified to tell you what it feels like when a customer calls a child, 'people like that,' and the staff stays quiet because tips matter. I am qualified to tell you what happens when your employees are so scared of being fired that kindness feels like theft." Malcolm watched her with something like pride. Tamara looked around the table. "And I am qualified to tell you that if your founder's mission can only survive when the owner's child walks in, then it is not a mission. It is decoration." The silence after that sentence was full, heavy, necessary. One younger executive lowered his eyes. The older woman in navy shifted in her seat. Malcolm leaned forward. My mother wrote about Tamara in her notebook. She saw in one waitress what we have failed to build into 93 branches. The legal counsel spoke carefully. We can't simply give free meals to anyone who asks. Tamara turned to him. No one said simply. Then what are you suggesting? She paused. She had expected to be questioned. She had not expected to answer like she belonged. But then she thought of Zion. She thought of Miss Lottie. She thought of the folded $2 bill. I'm suggesting you stop making hungry people prove they deserve dignity. No one spoke. Create a small emergency meal budget for every branch. Train staff to use judgment without shame. Keep records privately. No photos, no social media, no public praise, no customer spectacle. Just a warm meal and a respectful question. How can we help you get through today? The younger executive nodded slowly. That's workable. The older executive frowned. It could be abused. Tamara looked at her. Everything good can be abused. That doesn't mean you stop doing good. It means you build it wisely. Malcolm looked at the board. My mother used to say, charity is giving something you won't miss. Kindness is giving someone proof they are not invisible. Tamara's eyes moved to him. Miss Lottie had said that to her once. In that moment, Tamara knew Malcolm had been listening to his mother longer than he admitted. Maybe grief had buried the lessons, but they were still there. Around the middle of this story, take a second and think about how many people in real life are judged before they are understood. If this story is touching your heart, stay with it, because the deepest reveal is still coming, and it is not only about the boy. It is about the old woman who saw everything before anyone else did. The meeting lasted 3 hours. Tamara was questioned about fraud, about safety, about customer complaints, about employee boundaries, about legal liability. She answered what she could. When she did not know, she said, I don't know. That surprised them more than anything. People in boardrooms often acted like not knowing was a crime. Tamara knew it was the beginning of learning. By the end, Malcolm announced a 30-day emergency pilot program, 10 branches, private meal cards, staff training, a hotline for vulnerable guests, a partnership with local shelters and clinics, and an internal audit into branch culture. Then he looked at Tamara. I want you to lead the guest dignity training. Tamara almost laughed. I can't lead executives. You just did. I don't have a degree. You have the truth. That doesn't come with health insurance. For the first time all morning, a few people laughed softly. Malcolm smiled. It will. Tamara looked at him. I don't want charity. I'm not offering charity. Then what are you offering? A job. A real one. With training, salary, benefits, and support to finish your nursing certification if you still want that. Tamara's throat tightened. He continued. My mother's notebook says you left nursing school. Tamara looked down. I left because my mother needed care. And who cared for you? No answer came. That was another silence too full to carry. Malcolm softened his voice. This is not me saving you. You saved my son. This is me correcting a company that should have valued you before I knew your name. Tamara stared at the table. She wanted to say yes. Her whole body wanted to say yes. But pride is complicated when you have had to use it as shelter. If I take it, she said slowly, I earn it. Malcolm nodded. Yes. And the meal program is not named after me. No. It should be named after your mother. He smiled faintly. I was hoping you would say that. Tamara looked up. And Denise? The room shifted. Malcolm's expression grew serious. Denise will face consequences for what she did. She was wrong, Tamara said, but don't make her the whole problem. The older executive frowned. She endangered a child. Yes, Tamara said, and she should answer for that. But if the company trained her to see poor people as risk and rewarded her for keeping the dining room clean instead of keeping people safe, then you have more than one Denise. Malcolm held her gaze. That was the moment he understood why his mother had written Tamara's name down. Not because Tamara was soft, because Tamara was fair. Fairness is harder than anger. Anger wants one person to blame. Fairness wants the whole truth. 2 weeks later, the truth got uglier. Darnell Price had not acted alone. Police discovered he had been working with Rachel, Zion's aunt, who believed Malcolm had hidden family money after his wife died. Darnell had stolen internal documents months earlier. He planned to use Zion as pressure, not to physically harm him, but to force Malcolm into signing over control of a trust tied to the original King's Table property. It was family greed wearing a business suit, and Denise, desperate for promotion, had passed along information after Darnell promised her a regional role when leadership changed. She claimed she did not know Zion would be abandoned near the bus station. Maybe that was true. Maybe it was not. But she had known enough to be guilty of choosing ambition over caution. The security footage showed the full story. Zion entering the frame, customers staring, Tamara opening the door, Denise trying to stop her, Darnell arriving, Tamara standing between him and the boy. Malcolm watched the footage once, only once, then he turned it off. I can't watch my son be afraid for a corporate investigation. Tamara was in the room, so was Marcus. So were legal and HR. Malcolm turned to Marcus. You stepped in too. Marcus shrugged. Tamara was already standing there, I just made the wall wider. Malcolm smiled. That matters. Marcus looked down. I got kids. Wasn't much of a decision. Tamara thought about that line for days. It should not be much of a decision. But in the world they lived in, kindness had become a risk calculation. The Anna King Guest Dignity Program began quietly. No press release at first, no cameras, no speeches. Tamara insisted on that. If the first hungry person has to walk past a photographer, we failed, she said. The first training happened at the Peachtree branch after closing. 22 employees sat in booths while Tamara stood near the counter with note cards in her hand. She was nervous. Her palms sweated. Her old life and new life were standing in the same room. Some workers looked inspired. Some looked tired. Some looked afraid the program would create more work. Tamara understood all of them. She began with the truth. I am not here to teach you how to be saints. I am here to help you be human without losing your job. That got their attention. She taught them what to notice. Not stereotypes, not assumptions. Signs. A child watching trash. A parent ordering one meal for 3 people. An elderly person counting coins and pretending not to be hungry. A teenager stranded after dark. A worker whose card declined and whose hands begin to shake. She taught them what not to say. Not, can you pay? Not, are you homeless? Not, you people can't stay here. Instead, are you safe? Would a warm meal help today? Is there someone we can call? You can sit here while we figure this out. She told them dignity was in the details. Use a real plate when possible. Offer water without making it look like charity. Do not announce the meal. Do not joke in the kitchen. Do not take pictures. Do not tell customers. Do not turn someone's hard day into your good deed story. Then she held up a folded paper triangle tied with purple thread. This is what Miss Lottie King used to leave me, Tamara said. $2. Not much money, but it told me she saw me. The employees listened. Every Anna card is like this. It is not the value of the food. It is the message behind it. Marcus stood in the back, arms folded, eyes wet. Malcolm stood near the kitchen door with Zion. Zion leaned against his father, watching Tamara like she was the bravest person he knew. After training, a young waitress named Keisha approached Tamara. "My brother sleeps in his car sometimes," she whispered. "He works. He's not lazy. He just got behind." Tamara nodded. "I know." Keisha's eyes filled. "I used to be scared to ask if we could give him leftovers. Now you don't have to be scared." That was the first small healing. Not on television, not in a speech. Just one employee realizing kindness no longer had to hide. But healing did not happen cleanly. A month after the program started, a video leaked. Someone had recorded Tamara defending Zion from the day of the incident. The video was shaky, taken from a customer's phone. It showed Tamara standing in front of the boy and Darnell saying, "You don't know what you're getting involved in." Then it showed Zion saying, "She paid for my food because I was hungry." The internet did what the internet does. It turned pain into headlines. Waitress saves billionaire's son. Chain owner rewards hero server. Hungry boy was secret heir. Tamara hated every version. She was not a hero. Zion was not content. Miss Lottie was not a brand. Reporters called. Shows emailed. A podcast offered money. One morning, Tamara found 3 strangers waiting outside her apartment building with cameras. Her mother saw them from the window. "Lord," Renee whispered. Tamara's chest tightened. The attention felt like another kind of hunger. People wanted to consume the story, not understand it. Malcolm sent a car, but Tamara refused at first. "I don't want to be treated like I'm famous." Malcolm said, "This isn't fame. This is protection." She accepted only after a reporter followed her mother to a clinic appointment. That crossed a line. At corporate, Tamara confronted Malcolm. "You said no publicity." "I didn't leak it." "But the company is benefiting." "I know." "So stop it." He nodded. She expected an argument. There was none. The next day, Malcolm released a short statement. No interview, no smiling photo, no brand campaign, just words. A child in fear should never become marketing. A worker's kindness should never be exploited. King Hospitality failed before one employee remembered our founding promise. We are changing quietly, and we ask the public to respect the privacy of my son and Ms. Brooks. Tamara read it twice, then she called him. "Thank you. My mother would have slapped the back of my head if I did anything else." Tamara smiled. She had that kind of energy. She did. There was a pause, then Malcolm said, "Zion wants to give you something." "He doesn't have to." "I know. He wants to." That Friday, Tamara visited Malcolm's home. It was large, behind iron gates, with old trees and soft lights along the driveway. But inside it did not feel cold like she expected. It felt quiet. Too quiet. A house that had lost a mother has a sound. Even rich houses have it. Zion met her at the door. He wore sneakers, jeans, and a hoodie that said Atlanta Dream. His smile was shy but real. "Hi, Ms. Tamara." "Hi, Zion." "I made soup." "You made soup?" "With help." Malcolm appeared behind him. A lot of help. They ate in the kitchen, not the dining room. Zion had placed 3 bowls on the table, along with grilled cheese cut into triangles. Tamara noticed that. Zion noticed her noticing. "That's how you gave it to me," he said. After dinner, he brought out a framed drawing. It showed a restaurant table, a bowl of soup, a woman in an apron, a boy holding a napkin triangle. Above them, in careful handwriting, were the words, "The warm table." Tamara held it gently. "This is beautiful." Zion looked down. "I used to think being rich meant nobody could leave you." The room went still. Malcolm closed his eyes. Zion continued, "But Aunt Rachel left me, and everybody looked at me like I was dirty. So I think being safe is when one person doesn't leave." Tamara could not speak. There it was, the child line that broke the heart. Not because it was dramatic, because it was true. Malcolm stood and walked to the sink. His back was turned, but Tamara saw his shoulders shake, silent crying. Zion looked worried. "Daddy?" Malcolm wiped his face and turned back. "I'm okay." But he was not okay, not fully. Healing had started, but healing is not a switch. It is a table you return to again and again until you believe you are allowed to sit. Tamara placed the drawing on the table. "Zion, you were brave." "I was scared." "Brave people are scared." He thought about that. "Were you scared?" "Yes." "But you stayed." Tamara smiled softly. "So did you." Weeks became months. Tamara's life changed, but not like a fairy tale. She did not suddenly become rich. She did not move into a mansion. She did not stop having hard days. But the ground under her feet became stronger. Her new role paid enough for rent in her own name. Her mother got better medical care through Tamara's benefits. Tamara enrolled in evening classes to finish her nursing prerequisites. She still wore simple shoes, but they did not have holes. She still rode the bus sometimes because she liked watching the city wake up. But she no longer counted coins before buying fruit. That mattered. At the Peachtree branch, Marcus became general manager. Keisha became shift lead. The counter stool where Miss Lottie used to sit had a small brass plaque under it. Not on top, not flashy. Just underneath where only someone sitting there might notice. Lottie King. She believed every table should be warm. Tamara had argued against anything too grand. Miss Lottie would hate a statue, she said. Malcolm agreed. She'd say statues don't feed anybody. So instead of a statue, they created the Lottie Fund. Every branch received monthly money for emergency meals, transportation vouchers, and local support referrals. Employees could also donate tips voluntarily, but they were never pressured. Customers could buy meal cards, but no names were displayed, no wall of donors, no gold plaques, just quiet help, because quiet kindness echoes longest. One evening, 6 months after the rainy day, Tamara was back at the Peachtree branch training new staff. It was raining again. Same city, same street, same smell of coffee and fried chicken. Near the end of training, the front door opened. A man walked in with a little girl. He wore a mechanic's shirt with oil near the sleeve. His eyes were tired. The girl held a school backpack against her chest. They stood near the entrance too long. Tamara noticed. So did Keisha. The new manager on duty, a young man named Andre, started to approach with a menu. Then he paused and looked at Tamara. Not for permission to remove them, for permission to help well. Tamara nodded. Andre walked over with a gentle smile. "Evening. You two want to sit somewhere warm for a minute?" The man looked embarrassed. "My card declined at the gas station. I'm waiting on my sister to send something. My daughter just needs to sit." Keisha brought water. Marcus started soup without being asked. The little girl looked toward the kitchen. "Daddy, it smells good." The man closed his eyes. That one sentence hurt him. Tamara knew why. Parents can survive their own hunger. Their child's hunger is different. Andre said quietly, "We have an Anna card available tonight. Dinner is covered if that would help." The man looked up fast. "No, I'm not asking for charity." Tamara stepped closer. "It's not charity. It's a table doing what a table is supposed to do." The man's eyes filled. His daughter whispered, "Can we pay it back later?" Tamara smiled. "One day, when you can help somebody else. That counts." The girl nodded seriously, like she had been given a job. They sat in the same back booth where Zion had once hidden. The little girl ate soup slowly, with both hands around the bowl. Tamara watched from the counter. Her eyes moved to the window. For 1 second, she saw the reflection of another rainy day, a boy, a black SUV, a folded napkin, a choice. The door opened again. Malcolm and Zion walked in. Zion was taller now, his face softer, his fear no longer sitting so close to the surface. He saw the man and little girl in the booth. Then he looked at Tamara. "Anna Card?" Tamara nodded. Zion smiled, not big, just enough. Malcolm walked to the counter and touched the brass plaque under Miss Lottie's stool. He did that every time, like checking in, like apologizing, like saying, "I remember now." Tamara stood beside him. "She would be proud," she said. He looked at the booth. "She would say pride is nice, but soup is better." Tamara laughed. "That sounds like her." Zion approached them holding something, a folded $2 bill, triangle shape, purple thread. Tamara stared at it. "Where did you get that?" "Daddy taught me how to fold it. Grandma taught him. I want to leave it for the little girl." Tamara's throat tightened. "Why?" Zion shrugged. "So she knows somebody saw her." Malcolm looked away. Tamara placed a hand over her heart. "Go ahead." Zion walked to the booth. He did not make a speech. He did not tell his story. He simply placed the folded bill beside the girl's water cup and said, "This is for good luck." The girl looked at it. "Is it money?" "Yes." "How much?" $2. She tilted her head. "That's not a lot." Zion smiled. "No, but sometimes small things remember big things." The girl seemed to accept that. She tucked it into her backpack pocket. And just like that, the symbol returned, not as a relic, as a living thing. A thing passed from Miss Lottie to Tamara, from Tamara to Zion, from Zion to another child who needed proof she was not invisible. That night, after closing, Tamara sat at the counter with Malcolm and Marcus, while Zion helped Keisha wipe menus. The rain had slowed to mist. The city lights shone on the wet street. Malcolm placed Miss Lottie's notebook on the counter. "I found one more page," he said. Tamara looked at him. "What page?" He opened to the back. The handwriting was weaker there, less steady, but still beautiful. Malcolm read aloud. "If Malcolm ever forgets why we opened our doors, send him back to a waitress, a cook, or a hungry child. Owners forget. Workers remember. Children reveal. Tables tell the truth." No one spoke for a while. Marcus finally said, "Your mama didn't play." Malcolm laughed softly. "No, she did not." Tamara touched the edge of the notebook. "She knew." Malcolm nodded. "She knew I was drifting." "Grief does that," Tamara said. He looked at her. "My wife died, and I thought if I made the company bigger, the empty space would get smaller." "Did it?" "No." "What did?" Malcolm looked toward Zion, who was laughing with Keisha near the register. "That boy eating soup in public again." Tamara smiled. That was healing, not forgetting pain, not replacing loss, just reaching a point where a child could laugh near the place he had been afraid. Malcolm turned to Tamara. "And you? What about me? What made your empty space smaller?" She thought of her mother breathing easier, her classroom notebooks, her first paycheck in her new role, her apartment with no eviction notice on the door, the folded drawing on her fridge. She thought of Miss Lottie. Then she said, "Being useful without being used." Malcolm nodded slowly. "That's a good line. It cost me a lot to learn it. The best ones do." A year later, the Lottie Fund had spread to every King's Table branch. Not perfectly. Nothing human is perfect. There were mistakes. There were staff who needed retraining. There were managers who resisted. There were customers who complained. One man wrote a long, angry email saying he did not want to eat near people looking for handouts. Tamara replied herself, "Thank you for your concern. At King's Table, every guest is treated with dignity. If that makes you uncomfortable, We hope one day kindness finds you before hunger does. Malcolm framed that email response. Tamara told him to take it down. He did not. The company changed in ways people could see and ways they could not. Emergency meal cards reduced public conflict. Staff turnover dropped. Local shelters began calling King's Table when someone needed a safe public place to wait for a ride. A branch in Memphis helped a grandmother feed her grandchildren after a storm. A branch in Baltimore gave dinner to a bus driver who had lost his wallet. A branch in Houston helped a pregnant cashier from another store get to a clinic when she felt faint. Not viral moments, human moments. That was the point. Tamara finished her certification and began building health resource partnerships for employees and guests. She did not become someone else. She became more fully herself. Her mother, Renee, attended the small ceremony when Tamara received her certificate. She cried louder than anyone. "That's my baby," she told strangers. She was always a nurse in her spirit. Tamara laughed. "Ma, please." "No, let me embarrass you. I earned this." After the ceremony, Malcolm and Zion brought flowers. Lavender. Tamara looked at them and smiled. "Miss Lottie?" Zion nodded. She liked purple. Renee touched the flowers gently. "I wish I knew her." Tamara looked at the sky. "Me too." On the anniversary of the rainy day, King's Table Peachtree closed early, not for a press event, for family dinner. Employees brought their children. Marcus made chicken and rice soup. Keisha made peach cobbler. Malcolm brought Miss Lottie's old cast-iron pot, the one from the first King's Table kitchen. It was heavy, scarred, and blackened from years of use. He placed it on the counter. "My mother said a pot only becomes valuable after it has fed enough people to remember them." Tamara ran her fingers over the handle. It was warm, not from the stove, from history. Zion stood beside her. "You okay?" She smiled. "You always ask me that." "You always look like you're thinking sad and happy at the same time." Tamara laughed softly. "That's called healing." He thought about it. "Does healing mean it doesn't hurt anymore?" "No," she said. "It means the hurt doesn't get to be the only thing in the room." Zion nodded like he would save that for later. During dinner, Malcolm stood to speak. He looked uncomfortable. He hated speeches when they mattered. "My mother believed restaurants were not about food first," he said. "She said they were about welcome. My wife believed the same. I forgot for a while." He looked at Zion. "My son paid the price for that." The room went quiet. Then he looked at Tamara. "And Ms. Brooks reminded us." Tamara shook her head slightly, but Malcolm continued. "She reminded us that kindness without dignity is performance, and dignity without action is just a pretty word." He lifted a glass of sweet tea. "To warm tables." Everyone lifted their cups. "To warm tables." Zion lifted his cup high. "And soup." People laughed. "To soup," Marcus said. After dinner, Tamara stepped outside under the awning. The rain had stopped. The pavement still shone. Across the street, cars passed. No black SUV waited there now, only city lights. Malcolm joined her. For a moment, they stood quietly. "I used to think that day was the worst day of my life," he said. Tamara looked at him. "And now?" "It was the day I found out what the worst day could have become." She nodded. "That's different." "It is." Zion came outside holding a small wooden frame. Inside was the original napkin triangle he had carried that day, dried and preserved. Beside it was a folded $2 bill with purple thread. At the bottom, in gold letters, were Miss Lottie's words, "Feed first, judge never." Tamara stared at it. "Where will you put it?" Zion pointed inside. "By the door, not too high. Kids should be able to see it." Tamara smiled. "That's perfect." They hung it near the entrance, beside the small sign explaining the Anna card. The same door Zion had entered hungry and afraid now carried a message for anyone who came after him. Not a promise that life would be easy, not a promise that money would fall from the sky, just a promise that inside those walls, hunger would not be mocked, fear would not be ignored, and worth would not be measured by clean shoes. Later that night, after everyone left, Tamara stayed behind to help Marcus lock up. She wiped the counter stool where Miss Lottie used to sit. Under the edge, the brass plaque caught the warm light. Tamara placed one folded $2 triangle beside it. Marcus watched her. For Miss Lottie? For whoever needs to find it. He smiled. You really believe small things can change big things? Tamara looked around the diner, at the booths, at the kitchen, at the door, at the place where a hungry boy had once stood. Yes, she said, but only if somebody picks them up. Outside, the city moved on. People drove home. Rainwater slipped into gutters. Somewhere a mother counted coins. Somewhere a child hoped dinner would come. Somewhere a worker stood behind a counter, tired but still kind. And inside King's table, a folded $2 bill waited under a saucer. Small, quiet, almost nothing. But not nothing. Because a woman once kept one when she felt invisible. A boy once carried one when he felt lost. A father once saw one and remembered his mother. And a restaurant chain once changed because a waitress spent her last special bill on a hungry child she thought could give her nothing. That is the lesson. Loud cruelty may fill a room for a moment, but quiet kindness can echo for generations. So ask yourself, how many people have we walked past because they looked like trouble, when really they were just hungry, afraid, or waiting for one person to see them? If this story touched your heart, subscribe for more emotional stories of hope, healing, hidden truth, and kindness that returns when no one expects it. Share this with someone who still believes small, good things matter. And remember this: a warm table is not built by money. It is built by the person who opens the door.